The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than anything Zarathek had ever seen. The ceiling stretched so high that she could barely see the top. Lights from 47 different worlds shone down on her like tiny stars. Each light represented a different species, a different civilization that had joined together to rule the galaxy. Zarathek stood in the center of the hall. Her blue skin was pale with fear. Her forearms shook as she held the datapad that contained everything about her dying world. Around her, in great seats that rose up like a mountain, sat the representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy. "Please," she said, her voice echoing in the vast space. "My people are dying. My world is dying. We need your help." The Etherian representative floated in his seat. His body was made of pure energy and he glowed with a cold white light. "State your case, delegate from Kepler 442b, he said in a voice that sounded like wind through metal. Zarathek took a deep breath. 3 months ago, something terrible happened on my world. We call it the Gray Death. It started small, just a few plants in one city, but then it spread, fast. She pressed a button on her datapad. Images appeared in the air above her head. The council members could see her beautiful world as it used to be. Green forests, blue oceans, and cities that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. "This was my home," she said, her voice breaking. "We had cities on every continent. Our people lived in peace for over 2,000 years. We grew food, we made art, we explored the stars. We were happy. The images changed. Now they showed something horrible. The forests were gray and dead. The oceans were dark. The cities were empty, covered in a gray substance that looked like ash. This is what the Gray Death does," Zarathek continued. "It eats everything that lives. Plants, animals, even the soil itself. It turns everything to gray dust. Our scientists say it is some kind of nanoplague. Tiny machines that break down organic matter." A representative from the Crystalline Collective spoke up. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors as he talked. "How did this plague begin?" he asked. "We do not know," Zarathek admitted. "It appeared suddenly. Our best scientists think it might have come from space. Maybe it was on a meteor, or maybe someone brought it to our world. We cannot tell. How fast does it spread?" asked the representative from the Vorthan Empire. The Vorthans looked like giant beetles, and their representative was twice as tall as Zarathek. "Too fast," she said. "At first it moves slowly, a few kilometers each day, but now it moves faster, hundreds of kilometers each day. We think it learns as it spreads. It gets better at breaking down different kinds of life." The images above her head showed maps of her world. Red areas marked where the Gray Death had spread. At first there was just one small red dot, but as the weeks passed, the red areas grew bigger and bigger. Now more than half of her world was red. "How many of your people have died?" asked the representative from the Neural Network Collective. This species had no bodies at all. They existed only as patterns of thought in quantum computers. Zarathek's voice became very quiet. 7 billion, she whispered. Out of 12 billion. The rest are crowded into the remaining safe zones, but the plague is getting closer every day. Our scientists say we have maybe 2 weeks before there is nowhere left to run. The council members began to talk among themselves. Some spoke in languages that sounded like music. Others used flashing lights or changes in smell to communicate. Zarathek could not understand most of what they said, but she could tell they were not excited to help. The Etherian representative spoke again. "What resources can your people offer in exchange for assistance?" "Resources?" Zarathek asked, confused. "My people are dying. We need help to save lives, not to make a trade." "Everything has a cost," said the representative from the banking consortium. This species looked like tall, thin trees with too many branches. "Saving your world would require ships, scientists, equipment, and time. All of these things are valuable. What can you give us in return?" Zarathek felt her heart sink. "We have some rare metals in our mines. We have knowledge of farming techniques that work on difficult planets. We have art and music and literature. But most of our wealth is on the parts of the planet that are already dead." "Not sufficient," said the Crystalline Collective representative. "The cost of mounting a rescue operation would be enormous. The risk would be high. The chance of success would be low. It is not a logical investment." The representative from the Nexarchs, a species of advanced machines, spoke with a voice like grinding gears. "Statistical analysis indicates a 12.7% probability of successful intervention. Resource expenditure would exceed probable returns by 8.47%. Recommendation: Do not proceed. One by one, the other representatives began to speak. They all said the same thing in different ways. It would cost too much. It was too dangerous. The chance of saving her world was too small. Some were polite about it, saying they were sorry but could not help. Others were blunt, saying her people should have been more careful. Zarathek felt tears running down her face. These were the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. They had technology that seemed like magic. They had ships that could travel faster than light. They had weapons that could destroy stars. But they would not help save her world because it was not profitable. Please, she said again, louder this time. I am not asking for profit. I am asking for mercy. My people have done nothing wrong. We are not asking you to sacrifice your own worlds. We are only asking for help. Emotion is not logical, said the Etherian representative. Decisions must be based on facts and calculations, not on feelings. That was when Zarathek did something that shocked everyone in the Great Hall. She fell to her knees. In her culture, this was the deepest sign of desperation and respect. It meant she was willing to give up all pride, all dignity, everything, if only they would help. I beg you, she said, her voice echoing through the hall. I kneel before you and beg for the lives of my people. Please do not let them die. Please help us. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then the representatives began to talk among themselves again, but their voices sounded final, cold, decided. That was when she heard a different voice, a smaller voice from somewhere high up in the seats. I will help you. Everyone turned to look. The voice had come from the human section. Zarathek had almost forgotten the humans were there. They were such a young species, barely 200 years in space. Most of the older civilizations barely noticed them. The human representative stood up. She was a small woman with brown skin and black hair. She wore a simple blue uniform, not the fancy clothes that most of the other representatives wore. I am Dr. Sarah Chen, the human said. I represent the United Earth government, and I say that we will help you. The Etherian representative made a sound like wind through broken glass. Humans, he said with disgust. You are barely more than animals yourselves. You have no resources to mount a rescue operation. You have no advanced technology. You have no experience with nanoplagues. Dr. Chen walked down the steps toward the center of the hall. You are right, she said. We do not have the most advanced technology. We do not have the biggest ships or the most resources, but we have something that you seem to have lost. What is that? Asked the crystalline collective representative. Dr. Chen reached Zarathek and helped her stand up. We have hearts, she said simply. When someone is dying, you help them. When someone falls down, you help them up. It does not matter if it is profitable. It does not matter if it is logical. It matters because it is right. The other representatives began to make sounds of disapproval. Some laughed. Others spoke angrily about human foolishness and emotional thinking, but Dr. Chen ignored them. She looked directly at Zarathek. We will come to your world, she said. We will bring our best scientists and our best doctors. We will bring whatever equipment we have, and we will try to save your people. But why? Zarathek asked, tears still running down her face. What do you gain from this? Dr. Chen smiled. It was a warm smile, the first kind thing Zarathek had seen in the Great Hall. We gain the knowledge that we tried to do the right thing, she said. Sometimes that is enough. As the two women stood together in the center of the Great Hall, the other representatives continued to argue and complain. But Zarathek did not hear them anymore. For the first time in months, she had hope. The humans would come. They would try to save her world. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Luna Station, humanity's main space base orbiting Earth's moon. Around her, dozens of people worked at computer screens and communication panels. The room buzzed with activity like a beehive. How long do we have? Sarah asked Colonel James Murphy, the head of Earth's space fleet. 2 weeks, maybe less, he replied, looking at the data that had just come from Kepler 442b. The Gray Death is moving faster now. It consumed 3 more cities just since yesterday. Sarah nodded grimly. She had not slept since returning from the Galactic Council meeting 2 days ago. Neither had most of the people around her. When word spread that Earth was going to attempt a rescue mission, volunteers had come from everywhere. What ships do we have available? Sarah asked. That is the problem, Colonel Murphy said. The Council has forbidden any member species from helping us. They say we are interfering with natural selection. They have threatened to kick us out of the council if we go ahead with this mission. And our own ships? We have 12 research vessels, 8 medical ships, and 4 cargo transports, that is it. The rest of our fleet is too far away to reach Kepler 442b in time. Sarah felt a weight in her chest. It was not much. Kepler 442b was hundreds of light years away. Even with their fastest ships, it would take 10 days to get there. That would leave them only 4 days to figure out how to stop a nano-plague that had already killed 7 billion people. It is not enough, she said quietly. Maybe not, Colonel Murphy admitted, but it is what we have. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, Earth's top expert on nanotechnology, looked up from her computer. I have been studying the data from Kepler 442b, she said. This gray death is unlike anything we have ever seen. It seems to be a self-replicating nanomachine that breaks down organic molecules and uses the material to make more of itself. Can we stop it? Sarah asked. I do not know, Lisa admitted, but I have some ideas. The problem is that we need to test them and we need to do it fast. Sarah walked to the big window that looked out at Earth. The blue and green planet turned slowly below them. She thought about Zarathek and her dying world. She thought about the other council representatives and their cold calculations. Dr. Chen, said a voice behind her. Sarah turned to see Admiral Patricia Hayes, the head of Earth's Space Forces. I need to ask you something important. Are you sure about this mission? If we fail, we lose ships and people. If we succeed, we might make enemies of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Sarah did not hesitate. Yes, I am sure. Why? The Admiral asked. Help me understand. Why risk so much for people we barely know? Sarah thought for a moment. When I was 7 years old, she said, I fell into a river near my home. The water was cold and fast, and I could not swim well. I was drowning. The people around her stopped working to listen. A man jumped in to save me, Sarah continued. His name was Mr. Kim. He was not related to me. He did not know my family. He was just walking by when he heard me calling for help. He jumped in without thinking and pulled me out. What happened to him? Lisa asked. He was fine, Sarah said with a smile. But later I asked him why he did it. Why risk his life for a stranger? Do you know what he said? The room was quiet. He said, because you needed help and I could help. That was it. No other reason. Just that someone needed help and he could help. Sarah turned back to look at Earth. That is what humans do, she said. We help each other. We help strangers. We help people we will never meet again, not because it is profitable or logical, but because it is right. Colonel Murphy stepped forward. The ships are ready, he said. We have loaded them with every piece of medical equipment we could find. Every nanotechnology device. Every scientist who volunteered to come. How many people? Sarah asked. 412, he said. Doctors, scientists, engineers, researchers. Even some people who just want to help distribute food and water. Sarah was amazed. All volunteers? Every single one, the colonel confirmed. When word got out about the mission, we had 10,000 people apply to go. We had to turn most of them away because we do not have enough ships. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her computer again. I have been in contact with the scientists on Kepler 442b, she said. They have sent me everything they know about the Gray Death. The good news is that it seems to have some weaknesses. What kind of weaknesses? Sarah asked. It attacks organic molecules in a specific order, Lisa explained. First proteins, then carbohydrates, then fats. It seems to have trouble with certain types of bacteria, especially ones that live in extreme environments. That gives me an idea, said Dr. Mark Wilson, Earth's top biologist. We have bacteria on Earth that live in places with high radiation, extreme heat, and toxic chemicals. Maybe we can use them to fight the Gray Death. How? Sarah asked. If we can find bacteria that the Gray Death cannot break down, we might be able to use them to create a barrier, Mark explained. Or maybe even to attack the nanomachines directly. Lisa nodded excitedly. Yes, and if we combine that with targeted electromagnetic pulses, we might be able to disrupt the nanomachines' communication systems. Sarah felt a spark of hope. This was why she loved working with humans. They did not give up. They found solutions where others saw only problems. How long to prepare these bacteria? She asked. We already have samples of the ones we need, Mark said. But we need to modify them and test them. That will take time. We do not have time, Colonel Murphy pointed out. We need to leave tomorrow if we want to reach Kepler 442b before the plague spreads to the last safe zones. Then we work on the ship, Sarah decided. We take the equipment and samples with us and do the modifications during the trip. That is dangerous, Lisa warned. If something goes wrong, we could contaminate our own ships. Everything about this mission is dangerous, Sarah replied. But that does not mean we should not try. Admiral Hayes stepped forward. Dr. Chen, I have received a message from the Galactic Council. They are ordering us to stop this mission. They say that if we proceed, they will consider it an act of rebellion against Council authority. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at Sarah. She stood there for a long moment, thinking about the choice in front of her. Follow the Council's orders and let billions of people die, or defy the most powerful organizations in the galaxy to try to save them. What does the President say? Sarah asked. President Martinez has given you full authority to make this decision, the Admiral replied. Whatever you choose, Earth will support you. Sarah looked around the room at all the people who had volunteered for this mission. She saw determination in their faces. She saw fear too, but also hope. They were scared, but they were willing to risk everything to help strangers. We go, she said firmly. Send a message to the Council. Tell them that humanity will not stand by and watch innocent people die. Tell them that we choose compassion over politics. The room erupted in cheers. People clapped and hugged each other. Colonel Murphy started giving orders to prepare the ships for immediate departure, but Sarah walked back to the window and looked down at Earth one more time. She thought about Mr. Kim and the choice he had made all those years ago. She thought about Zarathek kneeling in the council chamber, begging for help. Because you need help, and we can help, she whispered to herself. 6 hours later, 24 human ships left the solar system. They carried 412 volunteers, along with every piece of equipment and every sample of bacteria that might help fight the Grey Death. Behind them, angry messages came from the Galactic Council. Threats and warnings filled the communication channels. Several powerful species began moving their own ships, preparing to stop the human fleet if necessary, but the human ships kept flying toward Kepler 442b. They had made their choice. They were going to help, no matter what the cost. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they saw made everyone fall silent. The planet that had once been green and blue was now mostly gray. From space it looked like a ball of ash floating in the darkness. Only small patches of color remained, scattered across the surface like tiny islands in a dead sea. Dear God, whispered Captain Elena Vasquez from the bridge of the lead ship. The UES Hope. It is worse than the pictures showed. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside her, staring at the dying world. How much is left? She asked. Maybe 15%, replied the ship's sensors officer, and it is shrinking fast. I am detecting new gray areas that appeared just since we got here. Sarah felt her heart sink. They had traveled for 10 days, working constantly to prepare their weapons against the Grey Death. But seeing the reality of the situation made everything seem hopeless. How could they save a world that was already almost completely dead? Dr. Chen, came a voice over the communication system. This is Zarathek. Are you really here? Sarah quickly moved to the communication panel. Yes, we are here, she said. 24 ships and 400 people. We have brought everything we could think of to fight the Grey Death. There was silence for a moment. Then Zarathek's voice came back, thick with emotion. I cannot believe you came. After the council said no, after they threatened you, you still came. We said we would help, Sarah replied simply. Humans keep their promises. The situation is very bad, Zarathek continued. We have maybe 2 days before the plague reaches our last safe zones. 6 million people are crowded into 3 small areas. We are running out of food and water. Sarah looked at the tactical display. The 3 remaining safe zones were tiny dots of green on a planet covered in gray. It was like looking at the last sparks of a dying fire. We need to land teams immediately, Sarah told Captain Vasquez. Send medical ships to the safe zones to help with supplies. Send the research ships to the edge of the gray areas so we can study the plague up close. That is very dangerous, the captain warned. If the plague spreads to our ship... We knew it was dangerous when we came, Sarah said. Dr. Rodriguez, are your bacteria samples ready? Dr. Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her laboratory equipment. We have modified 3 different types of extremophile bacteria. The tests on the ship looked promising, but we will not know for sure until we try them against the real plague. Dr. Wilson, What about the electromagnetic pulse weapons? Ready to test, Dr. Mark Wilson replied. We have built devices that should disrupt the nanomachine's ability to communicate with each other. But we do not know if it will work. Sarah took a deep breath. Then we start testing now. Every minute we wait, more people die. The next few hours were a nightmare of desperate activity. Human ships landed near the safe zones and immediately began helping the surviving population. Medical teams worked to treat sick and injured people. Engineers set up new water purification systems. Food supplies were distributed to families who had not eaten in days. But the most important work was happening at the edge of the gray zones, where human scientists were getting their first close look at the gray death. It is incredible, Dr. Rodriguez reported from the surface. The nanomachines are so small I can barely see them even with our best microscopes. But there are trillions of them, working together like a giant organism. What do they look like? Sarah asked from orbit. Like tiny metal spiders, Lisa replied. They attach to organic molecules and break them apart. Then they use the pieces to build more of themselves. The process is incredibly efficient. Have you tried the bacteria yet? Yes, and the results are mixed. 2 of our modified bacteria strains were destroyed immediately, but the third one, the one based on thermophile bacteria from deep-sea vents, seems to be resisting the attack. Sarah felt a spark of hope. How well is it resisting? The nanomachines are trying to break it down, but they are failing. The bacteria's cell walls are too tough, and they produce chemicals that seem to interfere with the nanomachine's cutting tools. Can we use that to stop the plague? Maybe, Lisa said. But we need more time to test it properly. That was when the alarm sounded throughout the human fleet. Dr. Chen, Captain Vasquez called urgently. We have incoming ships. A lot of them. Sarah rushed to the bridge and looked at the tactical display. 12 large ships were approaching the system. The computer identified them as vessels from the Etherian Collective, the Crystalline Alliance, and the Vorthan Empire. They are hailing us, the communications officer reported. Put them through, Sarah ordered. The Etherian representative's voice filled the bridge, cold and angry. Human fleet, you are ordered to leave this system immediately. Your presence here violates Galactic Council directives. We are trying to save lives, Sarah replied. These people are dying. That is not your concern. The Vorthan representative spoke with a voice like grinding stone. This world was already lost. Your interference only prolongs the suffering. We do not see it that way, Sarah said firmly. You will comply with council orders or face the consequences, the crystalline representative added, their voice chiming like broken glass. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. She saw fear in their faces, but also determination. These were not warships they were facing. The human fleet was made up of research vessels and medical ships. They had no weapons that could fight the council forces. Dr. Chen, Captain Vasquez said quietly, we cannot fight them. If they attack, we will be destroyed in minutes, Sarah nodded. She knew the captain was right. But she also knew that millions of people on the planet below were counting on them. Patch me through. To all ships in the fleet, she ordered. Channel open, the communications officer replied. This is Dr. Chen, Sarah announced. You all know why we came here. We came to help people who had no one else to help them. We came because it was the right thing to do. She paused, looking down at the dying planet. The council ships are here to stop us. They have bigger ships and better weapons. If we fight them, we will lose. But if we leave now, the people on that planet will die. All of them. The communication channel was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. I am not going to order any of you to stay, Sarah continued. This was always a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to leave can go now, and no one will think less of them. She waited. The seconds stretched out like hours. Then Captain Vasquez spoke. UES Hope staying in position. UES Mercy staying in position, came another voice. UES Discovery staying in position. One by one, all 24 ships confirmed they were staying. Every single one. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Back on the planet's surface, Dr. Rodriguez was working frantically with her team. The bacteria are spreading, she called excitedly. They are actually pushing back the Gray Death. How is that possible? Sarah asked. The bacteria do not just resist the nanomachines, Lisa explained. They seem to be attacking them. When the nanomachines try to break down the bacteria release enzymes that destroy the nanomachines instead. Can we produce more bacteria quickly? We are already on it, Dr. Wilson replied from another landing site. We have set up breeding tanks and we are producing millions of doses every hour. How long to cover the infected areas? At this rate, maybe 3 days, Lisa said. But that is assuming the bacteria continue to work and the nanomachines do not adapt to fight them. Sarah looked at the tactical display again. The council ships were getting closer. Soon they would be in weapons range. All teams, work faster, she ordered. We may not have much time. Down on the planet, human volunteers worked alongside Zarathek's people to spread the modified bacteria. They used everything they could find, crop dusters, water sprayers, even people on foot with handheld dispensers, and slowly, amazingly, it began to work. The gray areas stopped spreading. In some places they even began to shrink as the bacteria destroyed the nanomachines. It is working, Zarathek called from one of the safe zones. The Grey Death is retreating. But the council ships were almost in position to attack. Sarah knew they had minutes, maybe less, before the confrontation began. Dr. Rodriguez, she called urgently. Can you prove that the treatment works? Can you show clear evidence that we are winning? Give me 30 seconds, Lisa replied. She quickly uploaded data from her sensors to the fleet's computers. Images appeared on every screen showing the gray areas shrinking, being replaced by the natural colors of the planet. Sarah immediately transmitted this data to the council ships. Look at this, she said. We are saving the planet. The Grey Death is retreating. We are not interfering with natural selection. We are helping evolution take its course. The council ships slowed, but did not stop their approach. Even if you succeed, the Etherian representative said, you have defied council authority. That cannot be allowed. Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. Then attack us, she said calmly. Fire on medical ships that are saving lives. Attack research vessels that are healing a dying world. Show the galaxy what the Galactic Council really stands for. The space around Kepler 442b fell silent. The council ships continued their approach, but more slowly now. And on the planet below, the Grey Death continued to retreat as human bacteria spread across the surface like a healing bay. The council ships stopped just outside weapons range. For 3 hours they hung in space like angry predators, watching the human fleet work to save Kepler 442b. No one spoke. No one moved. The tension was so thick it felt like the air itself might break. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Hope, watching the tactical display. 12 council ships, each one 10 times bigger than anything in the human fleet. If they decided to attack, it would be over in seconds. Dr. Chen, came Dr. Rodriguez's voice from the planet's surface. The bacteria are working better than we hoped. The Grey Death has stopped spreading completely. In some areas, we are seeing the nanomachines being destroyed faster than they can reproduce. How much of the planet is saved? Sarah asked. About 30% so far and growing every hour, Lisa replied. If we can keep working for another 2 days, we might save the whole world. Sarah felt a mix of hope and fear. They were so close to success, but the council ships were still there, waiting. Dr. Chen, Captain Vasquez said quietly, I am receiving private communications from some of the council ships. Not all of them agree with this confrontation. What are they saying? The Crystalline Alliance ship is expressing doubts. Their representative wants to know more about our bacteria solution. They seem impressed that we found a way to stop the nanoplague. Sarah thought for a moment. Open a channel to the crystalline ship only. Channel open. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, she said. You wanted to know about our solution? Yes, came the musical voice of the crystalline representative. Our analysis of your bacteria shows remarkable adaptation. How did your species develop such technology so quickly? We did not develop it, Sarah explained. We found it. These bacteria already existed on Earth in the deepest parts of our oceans. They have been fighting hostile environments for millions of years. We just modified them slightly to fight the Grey Death. Interesting. Your approach is different from what we would have tried. How so? We would have built machines to fight machines, the crystalline representative explained. You used life to fight machines. It is uncreative. Sarah smiled slightly. Sometimes the old ways work better than the new ways. Before the crystalline representative could respond, the Etherian commander's voice cut across all communication channels. Enough discussion, he said coldly. Human fleet, you have 1 hour to leave this system or we will fire on you. And if we refuse? Sarah asked. Then you will be destroyed as examples to others who might defy council authority. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. She saw the same determination in their faces that had brought them here in the first place. Dr. Rodriguez, she called down to the planet, how much longer do you need? At least 18 hours to be sure the treatment will hold, Lisa replied. The bacteria need time to spread to every infected area. Sarah closed her eyes. 1 hour was not enough. Not nearly enough. Captain Vasquez, she said, send a message to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we tried to do the right thing. Dr. Chen, the captain said, there might be another way. What do you mean? I have been monitoring communications from the other council ships. Not all of them support this attack. If we can convince more of them to question the Etherian commander's orders, Sarah nodded. Open channels to all council ships. Channels open. This is Dr. Sarah Chen speaking to all council representatives, she began. You came here to stop us from helping the people of Kepler 442b. You say we are defying your authority, but I want to ask you something. She paused, gathering her thoughts. What is the purpose of the Galactic Council? Why do your species work together? The Etherian commander started to speak, but Sarah continued quickly. I will tell you what we humans believe, she said. We believe that civilization exists to protect life, to help those who cannot help themselves, to stand together against the darkness. Emotional nonsense, the Etherian commander said. The council exists to maintain order and prevent chaos. Whose order? Sarah asked. Order for whom? If your order means letting billions of innocent people die when you have the power to save them, then what good is it? She looked down at the planet, where the gray areas were slowly shrinking as the human bacteria spread. Right now on that planet, human doctors are working to save children who were born after the gray death started, children who have never seen a green tree or a blue sky. Are you going to tell me that we should let those children die to maintain your order? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, the Vorthan representative said. But these are not the needs of the many, Sarah replied. This is the convenience of the many. You do not want to help because it would be difficult and expensive, not because it would hurt you. Our resources are limited, the banking consortium representative said. We cannot save every world that faces disaster. You are right, Sarah admitted. You cannot save every world, but you can save this one, right now, today, and you are choosing not to because it is not profitable. Down on the planet, Zarathek was listening to the conversation on her communicator. She was standing in the middle of what had been a gray zone just 12 hours ago. Now, thanks to the human bacteria, green plants were starting to grow again. May I speak? She asked. Sarah nodded to the communications officer who opened a channel for Zarathek. This is Zarathek of Kepler 442b, she said. I want to tell you what I have seen today. Her voice was strong and clear, carrying across space to all the ships. 3 days ago, I knelt before the Galactic Council and begged for help. Every one of your species told me no. You said it was too expensive, too dangerous, too difficult. You said my people should die because saving them was not logical. She paused, looking around at the recovering landscape. But the humans said yes. They came here with their small ships and their simple technology. They risked everything to help people they had never met. And they are winning. The outcome is not certain, the Neural Network Collective representative said. You are wrong, Zarathek replied. The outcome is already certain. My people will live. My world will be green again. That is certain because the humans made it certain. She looked up at the sky toward the human ships. For 2,000 years, my people believed in the wisdom of the Galactic Council. We thought that older species must be wiser species. We were wrong. Age without compassion is not wisdom. It is just coldness. Enough of this, the Etherian commander said angrily. Human fleet, your time is up. Prepare to be destroyed. Wait, came a new voice. It was the representative from the Healers Union, a species that specialized in medical technology. Commander, I cannot support this action. Nor can I, said the Crystalline Alliance representative. These humans have accomplished something remarkable. They deserve recognition, not destruction. I also object, said the representative from the Academic Collective. The human solution should be studied and shared, not silenced. One by one, other voices joined in. The Scientific Coalition, the Explorers Guild, the Peaceful Federation. Even some members of the Etherian Collective itself began to express doubts. The Etherian commander's voice was ice cold with rage. You are all fools. This human interference sets a dangerous precedent. If we allow it, chaos will follow. The only chaos I see, said the crystalline representative, is the chaos of unnecessary death. The humans have shown us a better way. Sarah felt her heart racing. Could it be possible? Were the council forces actually splitting apart? Commander, she said to the Etherian leader, you still have loyal ships. You could still attack us. But ask yourself this. Is maintaining your authority worth starting a war? Is your pride worth more than the lives being saved on that planet? For a long moment, there was silence on all communication channels. Then the Etherian commander spoke, his voice filled with cold fury. Very well. We will not fire. But this is not over, humans. The council will remember this defiance. I hope they do, Sarah replied. I hope they remember the day a young species taught the galaxy that compassion is more important than profit. As the Etherian ships began to withdraw, other council vessels moved closer to the human fleet. Not to attack, but to observe, to learn, to see how the humans were saving a dying world. Down on Kepler 442b, the Grey Death continued to retreat. Children who had never seen green plants watched in wonder as forests began to grow again. Families who had thought they would die found hope returning to their hearts. And in space above them, the greatest military standoff in galactic history ended not with weapons, but with the power of doing the right thing. But Sarah knew the Etherian commander was right about one thing. This was not over. Word of what happened at Kepler 442b would spread throughout the galaxy. Some species would see it as inspiration. Others would see it as a threat to their power. The humans had saved one world, but in doing so they had changed the entire galaxy. The question now was, what would the galaxy do about it? LM. 6 months after the rescue of Kepler 442b, Zarathek stood in a place she had never expected to see again. She was in the grand gardens of her world's capital city, watching children play among flowers that had been gray dust just half a year ago. The air smelled of growing things. Birds sang in the trees. Water ran clear in the streams. Her world was not just alive again. It was more beautiful than it had ever been before. The recovery is remarkable, said Dr. Sarah Chen, walking up beside her. Your people have done amazing work rebuilding. Zarathek smiled at her human friend. Sarah looked different now. She wore the bright blue robes of a galactic ambassador, a position that had been created especially for her. Her hair was a little grayer and she looked tired, but her eyes still held the same kindness that had given Zarathek hope in the council chambers. We could not have done it without you, Zarathek replied. Without all of you. She gestured toward the human research station that had been built on the edge of the city. Human scientists still worked there, helping to monitor the planet's recovery and sharing their knowledge with local researchers. How many worlds now? Zarathek asked. 17, Sarah answered with a smile. 17 worlds that have joined the new alliance, and more asking to join every week. The new alliance. It had started small, just Kepler 442b and Earth working together. But word of the human rescue had spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Other species had begun to ask questions. Why had the council refused to help? Why had only the humans been willing to act? Tell me about the newest members, Zarathek said as they walked through the gardens. Well, the gentlefolk from Tau Ceti were the most recent, Sarah explained. Their world was hit by a solar flare that destroyed most of their technology. The council said it would take too long to help them rebuild, so we did it instead. How long did it take? 3 months. We brought them new power generators and helped them rebuild their cities. In return, they shared their knowledge of sustainable farming. It was a good trade, Zarathek nodded. This was how the new alliance worked. Unlike the old Galactic Council, which was based on hierarchy and profit, the new alliance was based on mutual help. When one world had a problem, the others worked together to solve it. What about the council? Zarathek asked. Are they still angry about what we are doing? Sarah's expression grew more serious. Some of them are. The Etherians have tried to block our trade routes 3 times. The banking consortium has refused to recognize our currency, and the neural network collective keeps sending spy ships to watch our activities. But not all of them? No, not all, Sarah said with a smile returning to her face. The Crystalline Alliance has been secretly sharing technology with us. The Healers Union has sent medical supplies to several of our member worlds. Even some Etherian colonies have asked for our help, though their government does not know about it. They stopped beside a fountain where human and alien children played together in the water. Zarathek watched them with wonder. Just 6 months ago, this spot had been covered in gray death. Now it was full of life and laughter. Dr. Chen, came a voice from behind them. They turned to see Commander Mike Torres, the human military leader who had taken over fleet operations for the new alliance. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Sarah's expression became serious. What kind of situation? We just received a distress call from the Singing Garden system. The Etherians are blockading the planet, cutting off all supplies. They say the planet has violated council regulations by accepting our help. Zarathek felt her heart sink. The Singing Gardens was a beautiful world populated by a species that communicated through music. They had joined the new alliance just 2 months ago after the council had refused to help them fight a plague of crop-eating insects. How bad is the blockade? Sarah asked. Bad, Commander Torres replied. 27 Etherian ships, including 3 battle cruisers. They are not letting any ships through, not even medical supplies. Sarah was quiet for a moment, thinking. Zarathek could see the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. As the leader of the new alliance, every decision she made affected millions of lives across multiple worlds. What are our options? Sarah asked. We could try diplomatic channels, Commander Torres suggested. Send a message to the council asking them to call off the blockade. They would just ignore us, Zarathek said. Or worse, they might see it as a sign of weakness. Sarah nodded. What about our fleet? Could we break through the blockade? Commander Torres looked uncomfortable. Maybe. We have 38 ships in the area, but most of them are research vessels and cargo ships. The Etherians have better weapons and heavier armor. Casualties? Sarah asked. Unknown, but probably heavy on both sides. Sarah turned to look back at the children playing in the fountain. There has to be another way, she said quietly. What if we do not try to break the blockade? Zarathek suggested suddenly. Both humans looked at her with confusion. What do you mean? Sarah asked. What if we go around it? Zarathek explained. The Etherians are blocking the main shipping routes to the Singing Gardens. But there are other ways to reach the planet. Commander Torres frowned. The back routes would take weeks longer. By the time we got supplies through, people could starve. Not if we send supplies from everywhere at once, Zarathek continued, her voice getting more excited as the idea developed. Every world in the new alliance sends ships. Not big cargo vessels that the Etherians would notice, but small ships. Personal transports. Private vessels. Hundreds of them, all taking different routes. Sarah's eyes lit up. A supply swarm. Too many ships for them to track or stop. Exactly, Zarathek said. And we ask for volunteers from non-alliance worlds too. Make it clear that this is not just about the new alliance. This is about the right of any world to receive help when they need it. Commander Torres was nodding slowly. It could work. The Etherians cannot blockade every possible approach to the system. And if we have enough ships, they would have to choose between firing on civilian vessels or letting the supplies through, Sarah finished. Either choice makes them look bad. Within hours, the plan was in motion. Messages went out to every world in the new alliance, asking for volunteer pilots and spare ships. The response was overwhelming. Farmers offered their cargo haulers. Scientists volunteered their research vessels. Even private citizens offered their personal ships. But the biggest surprise came from outside the alliance. Worlds that were still officially part of the Galactic Council began to send volunteers as well. Crystalline Alliance ships, Healers Union medical transports, even some ships from species that had never spoken to humans before. This is incredible, Commander Torres reported 3 days later. We have over 600 ships volunteering for the supply run, and more are joining every hour. Sarah was in the command center on Luna Station coordinating the massive operation. Around her, dozens of people worked to plan routes and coordinate timing. It was like organizing the migration of a flock of birds, except the birds were spaceships and the destination was a blockaded world. Dr. Chen, came a communication from the Singing Gardens. This is Melody of Hope speaking for my people. We have heard about the supply mission. We cannot believe that so many strangers are willing to help us. You are not strangers, Sarah replied. You are our friends. Friends help each other. But why? What do you gain from this? Sarah smiled. It was the same question Zarathek had asked 6 months ago on Kepler 442b. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing, she said. Sometimes that is enough. The supply mission launched 2 days later. 637 ships from dozens of different worlds, all flying toward the Singing Garden system along different routes. Some ships carried food. Others carried medicine. Some brought tools and equipment. A few even carried musicians who wanted to help restore the planet's damaged song gardens. The Etherian blockade fleet was not prepared for anything like this. They had expected a direct challenge, a fleet of warships trying to break through their lines. Instead, they faced something that had never happened before in galactic history, an entire civilization coming together to help strangers. The Etherian commander sent angry messages to every ship in the supply fleet, ordering them to turn back. But the ships kept coming. When Etherian vessels moved to intercept some ships, others slipped past. When they tried to cover more routes, their blockade became too thin to be effective. Most importantly, the galaxy was watching. News services from hundreds of worlds were covering the story. For the first time, ordinary citizens throughout the galaxy could see the difference between the two approaches to galactic civilization. On one side was the Galactic Council, powerful, efficient, and cold. They maintained order by force and made decisions based on profit and politics. On the other side was the New Alliance, smaller, newer, but driven by the simple idea that helping others was the right thing to do. The supply mission was a complete success. Food and medicine reached the Singing Gardens and the planet's crisis was ended. But more importantly, the galaxy had seen something new. A civilization that valued compassion over profit, cooperation over domination. The requests are coming in faster than we can process them, Commander Torres reported to Sarah a week later.